They dragged her into the throne room in iron chains, her clawed hand still stained with blood she swore wasn't hers. The Alpha King sat forward, eyes like winter steel, and every warrior in that hall wanted her dead. But Rhea Thorne, cursed, broken, half beast, did something no one expected. She smiled. If you want to see how an outcast becomes a queen, how a monster learns to rule, stick with me until the very end. Drop a like, tell me what city you're watching from, and let's begin. The Borderlands didn't forgive weakness. It didn't matter if you were born there or exiled there. Survival was the only currency that mattered, and Rhea Thorne had been bankrupt since childhood. She'd been 12 the first time someone spat at her feet in the market, 17 when her stepsister Alara smiled sweetly and whispered the words that would ruin her life, 20 when the curse took hold, twisting her hands into claws, her teeth into fangs, her reflection into something she could barely recognize. Now, at 23, she knelt in chains before the Alpha King, and the only thing she had left was her voice. "You're accused of slaughtering livestock in Greystone Village," the king said. His voice was low, rough, like gravel under boots. 3 goats, 2 calves, a shepherd's dog. Rhea lifted her head. Blood matted her dark hair, not her own. Never her own. She'd learned long ago that her body healed too fast for her own good. "I didn't kill them." A ripple of scoffs moved through the hall. The warriors lining the walls didn't bother hiding their disgust. To them, she was a beast pretending to be a woman, a thing that needed putting down. The king didn't react. His face was carved from stone, all sharp edges and old scars. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 30, maybe older. It was hard to tell with men like him. Men who'd seen too much. "The shepherd saw you," the king continued, "running from the scene, covered in blood." "I was hunting a rabbit," Rhea said flatly. "I heard screaming. I ran toward it, not away from it. By the time I got there, whatever did it was gone." Convenient. True. One of the warriors, a broad-shouldered man with a scar splitting his eyebrow, stepped forward. "She's lying, my king. Look at her. She's half feral. Probably doesn't even remember doing it." Rhea's claws flexed against the iron shackles. The metal bit into her wrists, but she didn't flinch. She'd learned not to show pain. It only made them enjoy it more. "I remember everything," she said, voice sharp as broken glass. "I remember the stink of fear in that village. I remember the way they looked at me like I was already guilty before I even opened my mouth. And I remember the real killer's tracks, paw prints twice the size of mine, heading north into the thornwood." The king's eyes narrowed. "You tracked it?" "I tried. Lost the trail at the river." "Why should I believe you?" Rhea met his gaze head on. It was dangerous. Direct eye contact with an alpha was considered a challenge, but she was past caring about etiquette. "Because if I'd wanted to kill livestock, I wouldn't have been stupid enough to get caught." A few of the warriors shifted uncomfortably. The scarred one looked ready to draw his blade. The king leaned back in his throne. It was carved from a single piece of blackwood, ancient and imposing. "You have a sharp tongue for someone about to die." "I've had a lot of practice." He almost smiled. Almost. "Who cursed you?" The question hit like a punch to the gut. Rhea's jaw tightened. She hadn't expected him to ask. Most people didn't care how a monster was made, only that it existed. "My stepsister," she said after a pause. "Alara Thorne. She was jealous. I don't know why. I had nothing she didn't have more of." That was a lie. Rhea knew exactly why. She'd been smarter, quicker, better at reading people. And their father, her father, had noticed. Just once. Just enough. Alara had smiled the next morning and offered her tea. By sunset, Rhea's hands were claws. "Alara Thorne," the king repeated slowly. "The merchant's daughter?" "The same." He drummed his fingers on the armrest. "She's engaged to Lord Voss now. Rich match. Good for her." The scarred warrior barked a laugh. "You're bitter." Rhea turned her head, fixing him with a cold stare. "I'm practical. Bitterness is a luxury I can't afford." The king raised a hand, silencing his man. "Enough!" He stood, and the room seemed to shrink around him. He was tall, taller than Rhea had thought, and when he moved, it was with the controlled grace of a predator. He stopped a few feet from her, looking down. I could have you executed right now. No trial, no questions, just a blade in a shallow grave. You could, Rhea agreed, but you won't. And why is that? She smiled, sharp, dangerous, desperate. Because you have a problem. 6 of them, actually. Your sisters. The temperature in the room dropped. Every warrior went still. The king's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. Rage. Or fear. Maybe both. Careful, he said softly. I'm not trying to insult you, Rhea said quickly. I'm trying to help you. Your sisters, they're wasting away. Every night they disappear into their chambers, and every morning they wake up exhausted. Shoes worn through, dresses torn. You've had healers, witches, trackers. None of them have solved it. Most of them are dead. The king's voice was ice. How do you know this? I listen. I trade information for food in the villages. People talk when they think you're not worth noticing. And you think you can succeed where others have failed? Rhea lifted her chin. I think I'm smarter than most of the people you've sent, and I think I have nothing to lose. The scarred warrior laughed again. She's insane. Maybe, Rhea said, but I'm also right. Give me 3 days. If I solve it, you let me go free. If I fail, you can execute me with a clear conscience. The king studied her. His gaze was heavy, calculating. She could feel him weighing her life like a merchant weighing grain. 3 days, he said finally. But if you fail, or if you try to run, I'll hunt you down myself. Fair enough. He gestured, and 2 guards stepped forward to unlock her chains. The iron fell away, and Rhea rolled her wrists, feeling the blood rush back into her hands. You'll be watched, the king added. Day and night. If you so much as breathe wrong, my men will know. Understood. He turned away, dismissing her with a wave. Take her to the east wing. Find her a room near the princesses. As the guards led her out, Rhea caught one last glimpse of the king. He was watching her, expression unreadable. She'd just gambled her life on a mystery no one had been able to solve, and she had 3 days to prove she wasn't just another desperate fool. The east wing of the palace was beautiful in the way a painting of a storm was beautiful, lovely but unsettling. The walls were pale stone, veined with silver, and the floors were polished to a mirror shine. Tapestries hung from the ceilings, depicting hunts and battles and long-dead kings. Rhea's room was small but clean, a bed with thick furs, a window overlooking the training yards, a basin of water, and a bar of soap that smelled like lavender. She locked the door and collapsed onto the bed, letting out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. 3 days. She had 3 days to figure out what was happening to the king's sisters. 3 days to break a curse that had killed everyone else who'd tried. 3 days to prove she was more than the monster they saw when they looked at her. No pressure. She closed her eyes, trying to think. The princesses disappeared every night, woke up exhausted, shoes worn through. It sounded like they were dancing, but where? And why? A knock at the door jolted her upright. Who is it? Marin. The king sent me. Rhea opened the door cautiously. A young woman stood in the hall, mid-20s, with sharp cheekbones and skeptical eyes. She wore the dark leathers of a palace guard, and a sword hung at her hip. You're my babysitter? Rhea guessed. Marin's mouth twitched. I prefer escort, less demeaning. Fair enough. Rhea stepped aside. Come in. Marin entered, glancing around the room. Nice digs for a prisoner. I'm not a prisoner. I'm a consultant. Right. A consultant who will be executed if she fails. Rhea shrugged. Details. Marin leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You know you're going to die, right? Everyone who's tried to solve this has ended up dead or insane. Healers, witches, scholars, doesn't matter. Whatever's happening to the princesses, it doesn't want to be solved. Good thing I'm stubborn. Marin snorted. Stubborn won't save you. This isn't some riddle you can logic your way out of. It's old magic, deep magic, the kind that eats people whole. Rhea met her eyes. Then I guess I'd better not get eaten. For a moment, Marin just stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, she smiled. You're either very brave or very stupid. Can it be both? Marin laughed, a real laugh, warm and surprised. I like you. which is unfortunate because you're probably going to die horribly. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Marin pushed off the wall, heading for the door. Get some rest. The princesses dine at sunset. You'll meet them then. Wait, Rhea said. What are they like? Marin paused, her expression turning serious. Tired, scared, trapped, and they don't trust anyone anymore, especially not strangers who promise to save them. The door closed, leaving Rhea alone again. She sat on the bed, staring at her clawed hands. 3 days. She was going to need a miracle. Dinner was a disaster. The dining hall was smaller than Rhea had expected, intimate, almost cozy, with a long oak table and chairs upholstered in deep green velvet. Candles flickered in silver holders, casting dancing shadows across the walls. The 6 princesses sat in silence, picking at their food. They were beautiful, every one of them, dark hair, pale skin, the kind of elegance that came from generations of noble blood. But beauty didn't hide the exhaustion carved into their faces. The oldest, maybe 25, had shadows under her eyes so deep they looked like bruises. The youngest, barely 16, swayed slightly in her chair, as if staying upright took all her effort. Rhea sat at the far end of the table, painfully aware of how out of place she looked. Her clawed hands rested in her lap, hidden beneath the tablecloth. She'd tried to clean up, washed her face, combed her hair, but there was only so much she could do. She still looked like a half-wild thing dragged in from the woods. So, the oldest princess said, breaking the silence. Her name was Lysandra, Marin had told her. You're the one who thinks she can save us. Rhea looked up. Lysandra's tone wasn't hostile, just exhausted, resigned. I'm going to try, Rhea said. They all try, another princess murmured. Her name was Isara. She was the second oldest with a distant, dreamy look in her eyes. They all fail. Maybe I'll be different. You won't be, the youngest, Kira said softly. No one is. Rhea set down her fork. Look, I know you don't trust me. I wouldn't either, but I'm not here to waste your time. I'm here because I need answers, and you need help. So let's skip the part where we pretend everything's fine and tell me what's really happening. The princesses exchanged glances. Lysandra sighed, rubbing her temples. Every night, we fall asleep in our beds, and every night, we wake up somewhere else. Where? We don't know. It's like a dream, but it's not. We're dancing for hours, until our feet bleed and our legs give out, and when we finally collapse, we wake up back in our rooms, exhausted, broken. Who makes you dance? Rhea asked. Lysandra hesitated. We don't know. We can't remember. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The harder you try, the faster it slips away. Rhea frowned. Magic? Obviously, Isara said, a bitter edge to her voice. But what kind? Who's doing it? Why? We don't have answers, just questions and exhaustion. Rhea leaned forward. What about the shoes? Marin said they're always worn through. Kira nodded. Every morning, completely ruined. We've tried locking ourselves in, tying ourselves to the bed. Nothing works. We always end up wherever we end up. And your brother? The king. Lysandra's expression darkened. He's tried everything. Sent healers, witches, soldiers to guard us. None of it works. And the ones who get too close... She trailed off, shaking her head. They die, Rhea finished quietly. Or worse, Isara whispered. Rhea sat back, processing. This wasn't just a curse. It was a trap, designed to lure people in and destroy them. Tonight, she said slowly, I'm going to follow you. Lysandra blinked. What? If you're disappearing every night, then I'm going with you. I'll stay awake. Watch. Figure out where you're going and how to stop it. You can't, Kira said, fear creeping into her voice. Everyone who's tried to follow us ended up dead, Rhea interrupted. I know, but I'm not everyone. Lysandra studied her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, she smiled, sad and tired. You're brave. I'll give you that. Or stupid, Rhea said, echoing Marin's words. Probably both, Lysandra agreed. That night, Rhea hid in the shadows outside the princess's chambers. Marin had reluctantly agreed to look the other way. If you die, I'm not explaining it to the king. she'd muttered. And now Rhea crouched in the dark, waiting. The hours dragged. Midnight came and went. Rhea's legs cramped. Her eyes burned. And then, just before dawn, she heard it. Music. Faint, distant, like a melody carried on the wind. It was beautiful, hauntingly so, and it made Rhea's skin prickle with unease. The door to the princess's chamber opened. Lysandra stepped out, eyes distant and glassy. She moved like a sleepwalker, fluid and graceful. The others followed, one by one, all wearing the same dreamy expression. Rhea's heart raced. She waited until they'd rounded the corner, then followed. The princesses descended a staircase Rhea had never seen before, hidden behind a tapestry in the east wing. The air grew colder as they went down, and the music grew louder. At the bottom of the stairs, there was a door, old, iron-bound, covered in runes that shimmered faintly in the dark. Lysandra pushed it open without hesitation. Beyond was a forest. Not a real forest. Rhea could tell that immediately. The trees were too perfect, too symmetrical. Their leaves were silver, shimmering like moonlight, and the ground was soft moss that glowed faintly underfoot. The princesses walked into the forest without looking back. Rhea followed, heart pounding. The music grew louder, closer, and then she saw it, a palace rising from the center of the forest. It was made of glass and starlight, impossibly beautiful, and inside figures danced. The princesses walked through the gates. Rhea hesitated at the threshold. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back. This was a trap, a snare, a place where people went to die. But she'd made a promise. She stepped through the gates, and the world shifted. The music wrapped around her like silk, pulling her forward. The dancers spun and laughed, their faces blurred and indistinct. And at the center of it all, seated on a throne of woven light, was a man. He was beautiful, painfully so. Dark hair, sharp features, eyes like molten gold. He smiled when he saw her. "Well," he said, voice smooth as honey, "this is unexpected." Rhea's claws flexed. "Who are you?" "I have many names," he said, standing, "but you may call me Irion." "And what are you doing to the princesses?" His smile widened. "Giving them what they want? Freedom, joy, a place where they're not trapped by duty or expectation." "They're exhausted," Rhea snapped. "They're dying." "Only because they keep returning to the mortal world," Arian said. "If they stayed here, they'd be happy forever." Rhea's stomach turned. "You're keeping them prisoner. I'm offering them a choice." "That's not a choice. That's a cage with prettier bars." Arian's eyes gleamed. "And yet you walked in willingly. Tell me, Rhea Thorne, why are you here?" She froze. "How do you know my name?" "I know many things." He stepped closer, and the air around him shimmered. "I know you're cursed. I know you're desperate. I know you'd do anything to break free. Stay away from me." He stopped, tilting his head. "I could help you, remove the curse, give you back your humanity. All you have to do is stay." Rhea's breath caught. For a moment, just a moment, she wanted to say yes. To be free of the claws, the fangs, the looks of disgust and fear. But then she thought of Lysandra, Isara, Kira, the others. "No," she said. Arian's smile faded. "Pity." He gestured, and the music swelled. The dancers closed in, their laughter turning sharp and wild. Rhea ran. She didn't remember how she made it back through the forest, back through the door, back up the stairs. All she knew was that when she collapsed in her room, gasping for air, the sun was rising, and she had 2 days left. Rhea woke to someone pounding on her door. "Get up." Marin's voice cut through the fog in her head. "The king wants to see you, now." Every muscle in Rhea's body screamed. Her legs felt like they'd been beaten with clubs, and when she tried to sit up, the room tilted sideways. She grabbed the edge of the bed, steadying herself. "I'm coming," she croaked. "You have 5 minutes." Rhea stumbled to the basin, splashing cold water on her face. Her reflection stared back, hollow-eyed, pale, her hair a tangled mess. She looked like she'd been dragged through the underworld and back, which, she supposed, wasn't far from the truth. The door opened without warning. Marin stood there, arms crossed, unimpressed. "You look like death." "Feel like it too." What happened last night? Rhea dried her face with a rough towel, buying time. She wasn't sure how much to tell, wasn't sure how much anyone would believe. I followed them, found where they've been going. Marin's expression shifted, surprise, then suspicion. And you're still alive. Apparently. Where are they going? Rhea pulled on her boots, wincing as her sore feet protested. Somewhere that shouldn't exist. A forest made of silver, a palace made of glass, and a man who calls himself Aryan. Marin went very still. You're lying. I wish I was. That's not possible. We've had guards watching the princess's chambers every night. There's no way they're leaving the palace. They're not leaving through a door you can guard, Rhea said, standing. Her legs wobbled, but held. There's a hidden staircase, behind the tapestry in the east wing. It leads down to a doorway, one covered in runes. That's where they're going. Marin stared at her for a long moment, then swore under her breath. The king's going to lose his mind. Good. Maybe he'll finally believe me. The walk to the throne room felt like it took hours. Rhea's body protested every step, but she forced herself to keep moving. Weakness now would get her killed. The king didn't strike her as the patient type. The throne room was colder than she remembered. Morning light streamed through the high windows, but it did nothing to warm the space. The Alpha King sat on his blackwood throne, fingers drumming against the armrest. His expression was unreadable. The scarred warrior from yesterday stood beside him. His name was Torvin, Marin had mentioned, the king's right hand. He looked at Rhea like she was a stain on the floor. You survived the night, the king said. It wasn't a question. I did. Others haven't been so fortunate. Rhea stopped a few feet from the throne, close enough to talk, far enough to run if things went bad. I found where your sisters are going. The drumming stopped. Explain. She told him everything. The hidden staircase, the door with the runes, the silver forest, and the glass palace. Aryan's offer. When she finished, the silence in the room was suffocating. Torvin laughed, short and bitter. She's insane, hallucinating, or lying. I'm not, Rhea said sharply. Check the tapestry, find the staircase. You'll see I'm telling the truth. The king stood, and the temperature seemed to drop another 10 degrees. If you're wasting my time, I'm not. He studied her, those winter steel eyes cutting right through her. Then he turned to Torvin. Take 3 men. Check the east wing. If there's a hidden staircase, find it. Torvin looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Yes, my king. As he left, the king turned back to Rhea. Sit. She blinked. What? You look like you're about to collapse. Sit before you fall. It wasn't kindness, just practicality, but Rhea wasn't about to argue. She sank into one of the chairs lining the wall, biting back a groan as her legs finally got a break. The king remained standing, watching her. This Aryan, what did he want? To keep your sisters. He's offering them freedom, or what he calls freedom, a place where they can dance and forget about duty and responsibility. And they believe him? They're not choosing it, Rhea said. He's controlling them. The music, it pulls them in. They can't resist. The king's jaw tightened. Can it be broken? I don't know yet, but I will. You have 2 days left. I know. He crossed the room, stopping in front of her. Up close, she could see the exhaustion carved into his face, the worry he was trying to hide. If you fail, I won't. You can't know that. Rhea met his gaze. No, but I can promise I'll die trying. Something flickered in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or just resignation. Why are you doing this? You could have run, disappeared into the borderlands. Why risk your life for people you don't know? Rhea hesitated. It was a fair question, one she wasn't sure she had a good answer to. Because no one else will, she said finally. And because I know what it's like to be trapped, to feel like no one's coming to save you. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. The king's expression softened, just a fraction, just for a moment. Then the mask slid back into place. Don't make me regret giving you this chance, he said quietly. I won't. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Torvin returned, his face pale. My king, She was telling the truth. There's a staircase and a door. We couldn't open it, but it's there. The king didn't react, just nodded once. Good. That's progress. Rhea stood, ignoring the way her legs shook. I need to go back tonight, learn more, figure out how to break the hold Arian has on them. You barely survived last night, Torvin said. You won't survive a second trip. Maybe, but I don't have a choice. The king's gaze shifted to her. You'll need protection. I can handle myself. Clearly. His tone was dry. Which is why you look like you fought a bear and lost. Rhea bit back a retort. He wasn't wrong. Take Marin with you, the king said. And this. He crossed to a cabinet, pulling out a small glass vial. The liquid inside shimmered faintly, silver and gold. It's a tonic, brewed by our court witch before she died trying to solve this mystery. It won't protect you from everything, but it should help you resist the music, for a time. Rhea took the vial carefully. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this doesn't work, you're both dead. Marin was less than thrilled. You want me to what? She stared at Rhea like she'd suggested jumping off a cliff. Come with me, Rhea repeated. They were in the training yard, away from prying ears. Tonight, through the door, into the forest. Absolutely not. The king ordered it. Marin's jaw tightened. The king can order all he wants. That doesn't mean I'm walking into a death trap. Rhea leaned against the stone wall, exhaustion weighing her down. I need someone I can trust. Someone who won't panic if things go bad. Things will go bad. They always do. Probably, but I can't do this alone. Marin was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed, running a hand through her short-cropped hair. You're going to get us both killed. Maybe. That's not reassuring. I'm not trying to be reassuring. I'm trying to be honest. Marin laughed, sharp and humorless. Fine. I'll go. But if I die, I'm haunting you. Fair enough. They spent the rest of the day preparing. Rhea forced herself to eat, even though her stomach churned with nerves. She sharpened her claws, useless as weapons, but better than nothing. Marin checked her blade, her bow, her knives. As the sun set, the princesses gathered for dinner again. They looked worse than yesterday. Lysandra could barely keep her eyes open. Kira trembled as she lifted her fork. It's getting worse, Usara said quietly. We can feel it. Whatever he's doing, it's draining us faster. Rhea's chest tightened. I'm going back tonight. I'll find a way to stop him. Lysandra looked at her, something like hope flickering in her tired eyes. Do you really think you can? Rhea didn't answer. She couldn't lie to them, couldn't promise something she wasn't sure she could deliver. I'll try, she said instead. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. What? Midnight came too fast. Rhea and Marin crouched in the shadows outside the princess's chambers. The palace was silent except for the distant sound of guards making their rounds. Last chance to turn back, Marin whispered. Not a chance. The door opened. Lysandra stepped out, eyes glassy and distant. The others followed, moving like sleepwalkers. Rhea and Marin followed. The staircase was just as cold as before. The door at the bottom glowed faintly, the runes pulsing like a heartbeat. Lysandra pushed it open and the silver forest shimmered into view. Rhea pulled out the vial the king had given her. Drink half, she told Marin. Save the rest for later. Marin eyed the vial warily. What's in it? No idea, but the king said it'll help. That's comforting. They each took a sip. The liquid tasted like honey and smoke burning all the way down. Rhea's head cleared instantly, the fog lifting. The music was still there, still pulling, but it felt distant now. Manageable. Ready? She asked. Marin drew her blade. No, but let's go anyway. They stepped through the door. The forest was just as beautiful and just as wrong as Rhea remembered. The silver trees whispered in a language she couldn't understand. The glowing moss squelched underfoot. The glass palace loomed ahead, and inside the dancing had already begun. Arian sat on his throne, watching the princesses spin and twirl. He smiled when he saw Rhea. You came back, he said. How delightful. Rhea stepped forward, Marin at her side. Let them go. But they don't want to go. Look at them. They're happy here. They're exhausted. They're dying. Arian waved a hand dismissively. A temporary inconvenience. Once they fully commit to staying, the exhaustion will fade. You're killing them, Marin snapped. Arian's gaze shifted to her, amused. And who are you? Someone who's about to put an arrow through your skull if you don't release them. He laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I'd like to see you try. Marin knocked an arrow, drawing the string taut. She aimed for his heart. She released. The arrow flew straight and true, and stopped midair inches from Arian's chest. It hovered there for a moment, then fell to the ground, harmless. Arian smiled. Weapons won't work here. This is my domain, my rules. Ria's mind raced. If weapons didn't work, they needed another approach, something he wouldn't expect. You said you're offering them a choice, she said slowly. But a real choice requires understanding both options. They can't choose to stay if they don't remember what they're leaving behind. Arian tilted his head. An interesting point, but irrelevant. They're here. They're mine. Prove it. His smile faltered. What? Prove they're here by choice. Let them remember. Let them wake up, fully aware, and decide for themselves. If they choose to stay, I'll leave. If they choose to go, you let them. The air around Arian shimmered, his form flickering like a candle flame. You're clever. I'll give you that. Is that a yes? He leaned back, considering. Very well. A wager. If they choose to stay, you stay too. If they choose to leave, I release them. All of them. Ria's heart pounded. It was a trap. She knew it was a trap. But what choice did she have? Deal, she said. Arian clapped his hands and the music stopped. The dancers froze mid-step. The princesses blinked, confusion washing over their faces. What? Lysandra looked around, disoriented. Where are we? You're in a place between worlds, Arian said smoothly. A place where you're free from duty, free from expectation, free from the weight of being a princess. Kira's eyes filled with tears. I want to go home. Do you? Arian's voice was soft, persuasive. Home, where you're nothing but a political pawn, where your brother decides your future, where every smile is calculated, every word measured. Isara wavered. He's not wrong. Don't listen to him, Ria said urgently. He's twisting the truth. Yes, your life is hard. Yes, there are expectations. But there's also love, family, people who care about you. Do they? Arian asked. Your brother sends strangers to solve your problem. He doesn't come himself. He doesn't risk himself. Lysandra flinched. Ria stepped forward. Your brother is a king. He has a responsibility to his people, but that doesn't mean he doesn't care. He's trying to save you the only way he knows how. By risking other people's lives, Arian said, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. By doing everything he can, Ria shot back. Which is more than you're doing. You're not offering them freedom. You're offering them a prison with prettier bars. Arian's eyes flashed. Careful. Why? Afraid they'll see the truth? The palace trembled. The glass walls cracked, spiderwebbing outward. You're testing my patience, Arian said, his voice low and dangerous. Good. Lysandra looked between them, then at her sisters. I want to go home, she said finally. This place, it's beautiful, but it's not real, and I'd rather face a hard truth than live in a beautiful lie. One by one, the other princesses nodded. Arian stood, and the air around him crackled with power. You're making a mistake. Maybe, Lysandra said, but it's our mistake to make. For a moment, Ria thought he'd refuse, thought he'd trap them all here, consequences be damned. But then he smiled, cold and sharp. Very well, you're free to go, for now. The music swelled again, louder and harsher than before. The forest around them began to warp and twist. Run! Ria shouted. They ran. The trees reached for them, silver branches turning to grasping claws. The moss beneath their feet turned sticky and thick, trying to pull them down. The palace shattered behind them, shards of glass raining down like deadly stars. Marin loosed arrow after arrow, cutting through branches, clearing the path. Rhea grabbed Kira's hand, pulling her forward when she stumbled. The door was ahead, glowing, pulsing, barely visible through the chaos. They dove through it. The forest vanished. They tumbled onto the cold stone floor of the palace staircase, gasping for breath. "Everyone here?" Rhea panted. Lysandra counted heads. "Yes, we're all here." Marin slumped against the wall, her bow still clutched in white-knuckled hands. "That was insane." "But it worked," Rhea said. Lysandra looked at her, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you." Rhea nodded, too exhausted to speak. They climbed the stairs together, emerging into the quiet east wing. The tapestry hung innocently on the wall, as if nothing had happened. "What now?" Izora asked. "Now we tell the king," Rhea said, "and figure out how to seal that door for good." The king's reaction was controlled. Too controlled. He listened to Rhea's report without interrupting. When she finished, he stood and walked to the window, staring out at the training yard below. "Arian," he said finally. "That name. I've heard it before." Rhea's stomach dropped. "Where?" "In old stories. Legends my father used to tell about a lord of the in-between places. A creature that fed on longing and regret." "A creature?" Marin said. "Not a man?" "Something older than a man," the king said. "Something that shouldn't exist anymore." Torvin stepped forward. "If the princesses are free, then the problem's solved. Seal the door. Be done with it." "It's not that simple," Rhea said. "He let them go, but he didn't say he was done with them. Or with us." The king turned, his expression grim. "What did he say exactly?" Rhea swallowed. "He said they were free to go. For now." The room went silent. "That's a threat," Torvin said. "That's a promise," the king corrected. "He's not done. He's just waiting." Rhea's mind raced. They'd won the battle, but the war was far from over, and Arian wasn't the type to accept defeat gracefully. "I need to go back," she said. Everyone stared at her. "Are you insane?" Marin demanded. "We barely made it out alive. If we don't stop him now, he'll just keep coming back. Stronger. Angrier. The princesses won't be safe. No one will be safe." The king crossed to her, his gaze intense. "What are you proposing?" Rhea took a breath. "I'm proposing we end this permanently, but I'll need help, and I'll need you to trust me." The king studied her for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he smiled, sharp and dangerous. "Tell me your plan." Rhea's plan was simple, stupidly simple, the kind of simple that got people killed. "You want to challenge him," the king said slowly, "to a contest. Not just any contest," Rhea clarified. "A binding one. Winner takes all. If I win, he releases his hold on this realm permanently. If he wins, he takes you," Marin finished, her face pale. "Forever." "Yes." Torvin slammed his fist on the table. "This is suicide. You don't bargain with creatures like him. You destroy them." "And how do you propose we do that?" Rhea shot back. "Weapons don't work there. It's his domain, his rules. The only way to beat him is to play his game better than he does." The king paced the length of the war room, his jaw tight. Dawnlight crept through the windows, painting everything in shades of amber and gray. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. "What makes you think he'll accept?" he asked. "Because he's arrogant," Rhea said, "and because I embarrassed him. He let the princesses go, but it cost him, his pride, his control. He'll want revenge, and he'll want it on his terms. And if you're wrong, then I die. But at least I die trying." The king stopped pacing, turning to face her. "You're risking everything on a guess." "I'm risking everything either way," Rhea said quietly. "At least this way. I choose how." Something in his expression shifted. Understanding, maybe. Or respect. "What do you need from me?" "Time. One more night, and someone who knows about binding contracts, old magic, the kind that can't be broken." The king nodded. "There's a woman. Lives in the Thornwood, about a day's ride from here. She's a hedge witch, deals in contracts and curses. If anyone can help you craft something ironclad, it's her." "Then I'll leave within the hour." "You'll leave with an escort," the king said. It wasn't a suggestion. "Marin will go with you, and 2 of my best riders." Marin groaned. "I knew I should have stayed in bed." The thornwood earned its name. Massive thorn bushes grew in twisted tangles, their branches as thick as a man's arm and covered in spikes the length of daggers. The path through was narrow and treacherous, barely wide enough for a single horse. Rhea rode in silence, her body still aching from the night before. Every jolt of the horse sent pain shooting through her legs. Beside her, Marin looked equally miserable. "I hate the thornwood," Marin muttered. "Always have." "Why?" "Because nothing good lives here. Everything that gets pushed out of civilization ends up here. Outlaws, monsters, things that should have stayed dead." One of the king's riders, a young man named Calder, laughed nervously. "You're not helping." "I'm not trying to help. I'm stating facts." The other rider, a woman named Vessa, kept her hand on her sword hilt. Her eyes scanned the trees constantly, watchful. "How much farther?" "Another hour, maybe," Marin said. "The witch lives deep, doesn't like visitors." "Then why does the king know where to find her?" Rhea asked. Marin's expression darkened. "Because she's the one who cursed his father." The words hung in the air like smoke. "What?" Rhea stared at her. "The king's father was cursed?" "Killed by it, actually," Marin said. 10 years ago. Went mad, started seeing things that weren't there. Tried to kill his own children before the guards put him down. The witch was the one who cast it, she confessed. Said the old king deserved it for crimes she wouldn't name. And they didn't execute her? The current king wanted to, but she offered him a deal. Her life for her knowledge. Everything she knew about curses, bindings, old magic, he accepted. Rhea felt sick. "So we're going to ask a murderer for help." "We're going to ask someone who understands the rules," Marin corrected. "Whether we trust her is another question." The path opened into a clearing. At the center stood a cottage, small, sagging, held together by hope and stubbornness. Smoke curled from the chimney. Herbs hung from the eaves, drying in the weak sunlight. The door opened before they could knock. The woman who stepped out was older than Rhea expected. White hair, weathered skin, eyes sharp as broken glass. She wore a dress that might have been green once but had faded to the color of moss. "The king's dog," she said, looking at Marin. "And friends. How unexpected." "We need your help," Rhea said. The witch's gaze shifted to her, and Rhea felt like she was being dissected. A cursed girl, half beast. Interesting. "Who did this to you?" "My stepsister." "Jealousy?" "Probably." The witch smiled, thin and sharp. "The oldest reason. Come in, but only you. The others stay outside." Marin tensed. Not a chance. "Then you get nothing," the witch said pleasantly. "I don't deal with crowds." Rhea dismounted, ignoring the protest in her legs. "It's fine. I'll be quick." "Rhea, I'll be fine." She followed the witch inside. The cottage was cramped and cluttered. Shelves lined every wall, packed with jars and bottles and bundles of dried plants. A fire crackled in the hearth. The air smelled like earth and smoke, and something faintly sweet. "Sit," the witch said, gesturing to a worn chair. Rhea sat. The witch settled across from her, studying her with unsettling intensity. "You want to bind a creature of the old world," the witch said. It wasn't a question. Rhea blinked. "How did you—" "You reek of him, Airion, Lord of the Silver Forest, keeper of lost things." The witch's smile widened. "You've been dancing with death, girl." "Can you help me or not?" "That depends. What are you willing to pay?" Rhea hesitated. "What do you want?" "The truth." The witch leaned forward. "Why are you doing this? You could run, disappear. Let the king and his sisters deal with their own problems. So why stay?" Rhea clenched her clawed hands in her lap. "Because no one else will help them." "That's not the whole truth." "It's enough." The witch's eyes gleamed. "No, it's not. Try again." Rhea's jaw tightened. She hated this, hated being picked apart like a carcass. But the witch was right. There was more to it. "Because I'm tired of running," she said finally. "I've spent 3 years hiding, 3 years being afraid. And I'm done. If I'm going to die, I want it to mean something." The witch nodded slowly. "Better. Still not the whole truth, but closer." What more do you want from me? I want you to admit what you really want, the witch said. Not freedom, not redemption. What you really want is to be seen, to matter, to prove that you're more than what they made you. The words hit like a slap. Ria's breath caught. The witch sat back, satisfied. There. Now we can work. She stood, moving to one of the shelves. She pulled down a book, old, leather-bound, pages yellowed with age. Binding contracts are tricky, especially with creatures like Arian. They twist words, find loopholes. You need something ironclad, something he can't wriggle out of. Can you craft one? I can teach you how, but you'll have to speak it. Your words, your will. Otherwise it won't hold. She opened the book, flipping through pages covered in spidery handwriting. First rule, be specific. Don't say release your hold. Say exactly what you want released and how. Second rule, include consequences. If he breaks the contract, what happens? Third rule, make it mutual. He has to gain something too, or he won't agree. Ria leaned forward, studying the pages. What could I possibly offer him? The witch's smile turned cold. Yourself, your service, your loyalty, something he values. I'm not giving him my loyalty. Then offer him something else, a story, a secret, a memory. Creatures like him feed on more than just power. They feed on experience, emotion. Give him something he can't get anywhere else. Ria's mind raced. What did she have that Arian would want? She was cursed, broken, an outcast with nothing to her name. And then it hit her. My curse, she said slowly. He offered to break it before. He wants it. The witch tilted her head. Why would he want your curse? Because it's unique. My stepsister crafted it specifically for me. It's tied to my bloodline, my history. If he collects curses, studies them, then mine would be valuable. Clever, the witch said, but dangerous. If you give him your curse, you give him a piece of yourself. That creates a connection, one he could exploit. I'll take that risk. The witch studied her for a long moment. Then she pulled out a piece of parchment and a quill. Then let's begin. They worked for hours, crafting phrases, testing loopholes. Ria's head pounded with the effort, but slowly the contract took shape. By the time they finished, the sun was setting. Memorize it, the witch said, handing her the parchment. Word for word, you can't stumble, can't hesitate. If you do, he'll pounce. Ria read it over and over, burning the words into her mind. When she finally looked up, the witch was watching her with something almost like approval. You might actually survive this, the witch said. Might? I don't deal in certainties. She walked to the door, opening it. One more thing. When you face him, don't let him see your fear. Creatures like Arian can smell it. They use it. Be calm. Be confident, even if you're terrified. I'll try. Don't try. Do. Ria stepped outside. Marin and the others were waiting, tense and watchful. Well? Marin asked. Ria held up the parchment. I have what I need. They rode back through the night. Ria's body screamed for rest, but she couldn't afford to stop. Time was running out. When they reached the palace, the king was waiting in the war room. Torvin stood beside him, arms crossed, disapproving as ever. Did you get it? The king asked. Ria nodded, pulling out the parchment. A binding contract. If Arian accepts, he'll have to honor it. No loopholes, no tricks. The king read it over, his expression unreadable. You're offering him your curse. It's the only thing I have that he wants. And if he refuses, then I improvise. Torvin scoffed. This is insane. You're gambling everything on the hope that he'll play fair. He will, Ria said, because his pride demands it. He thinks he's smarter than me. He'll accept just to prove it. The king set down the parchment. When do you go? Tonight. The princesses will lead me to the door. I'll go through alone. Absolutely not, Marin said. I'm going with you. No. Ria? No, Ria repeated firmly. This is something I have to do alone. If we both go, he'll see it as a threat. This has to be just me and him. Marin looked ready to argue, but the king raised a hand. She's right. This is her fight. And if she loses, Marin demanded. The king's expression hardened. Then we seal the door, permanently, and mourn her. Midnight found Rhea standing outside the princess's chambers once more. Lysandra opened the door, her face tight with worry. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "Yes, I do." "Why?" Rhea smiled, tired but genuine. "Because someone has to, and I'm tired of being afraid." Lysandra hugged her. It was quick, awkward, but heartfelt. "Come back." "I'll try." The princesses led her down the hidden staircase. The door glowed at the bottom, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Good luck," Kira whispered. Rhea nodded. She placed her hand on the door, feeling the magic thrumming beneath her palm. Then she pushed it open and stepped through. The silver forest was darker than before. The trees whispered in languages she still couldn't understand. The moss beneath her feet felt sticky, clinging. The glass palace loomed ahead, but the lights inside were dim, flickering. Arian stood at the entrance, waiting. He smiled when he saw her. "I wondered if you'd come back." "I'm here to make you an offer," Rhea said. His smile widened. "How delightful. Tell me." Rhea pulled out the parchment, holding it up. "A binding contract. A contest. Winner takes all." Arian's eyes gleamed. "What are the terms?" She recited them from memory, word perfect. 3 trials, tests of wit, will, and heart. If she won, he would release his hold on the mortal realm permanently. No loopholes, no returns. If he won, she would give him her curse, and herself. When she finished, Arian was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, long and delighted. "Oh, you are clever. Very well. I accept." The air around them shimmered. The parchment in Rhea's hand glowed, the words burning into the air itself. Magic crackled, sealing the contract. Arian's smile turned sharp. "Let the trials begin." The forest shifted. The palace vanished, and Rhea found herself standing in a massive hall made of mirrors. Hundreds of reflections stared back at her, some her own, some twisted and wrong. "First trial," Arian's voice echoed around her. "Find the real door, choose wrong, and you're trapped here forever." Rhea's heart raced. Every mirror looked identical. Every reflection showed the same hall, the same doors, the same impossible choices. She took a breath, forcing herself to think. Arian was a creature of illusions. He twisted reality. But illusions had rules, patterns. She studied the mirrors, looking for inconsistencies. Most showed her standing still. But one, just one, showed her mid-step as if she'd already moved. That was the tell. The real door showed what was, not what appeared to be. She walked toward it, ignoring the other reflections, placed her hand on the glass. It swung open. Arian's laughter echoed. "Clever girl, but that was the easy one." The mirror hall dissolved. Rhea stumbled into a garden. Beautiful, lush. Flowers bloomed in impossible colors. A fountain sparkled in the center, and standing beside it was Alara. Rhea's breath caught. "You're not real." "Does it matter?" Alara smiled, sweet, venomous. "You wanted to see me, to hear me apologize, so here I am." "This is the second trial," Rhea said flatly. "He's using my memories against me." "Maybe," Alara said. "Or maybe I'm real. Maybe I've been trapped here too. Maybe I regret what I did." Rhea's hands clenched. "You cursed me, turned me into a monster, destroyed my life." "I was jealous," Alara said softly. "I'm sorry." The words Rhea had longed to hear, the apology she'd dreamed about for 3 years. But something was wrong. Alara's eyes. They were too bright, too perfect. "You're not sorry," Rhea said. "You never were. You wanted what I had, and when you couldn't take it, you ruined it." The illusion flickered. Alara's smile turned cold. "You always thought you were better than me." "I never thought that. I just wanted you to see me." "I saw you," Alara hissed. "I saw you taking everything that should have been mine." Rhea felt tears prick her eyes. "I never wanted to take anything from you. I just wanted a sister." The illusion shattered. The garden dissolved. Arian stood before her, his expression unreadable. "Interesting. You passed. But the third trial will break you." The world shifted again. And this time, Rhea found herself standing in a throne room. The Alpha King's throne room. But it was different, brighter, warmer. The king sat on his throne. Beside him, in a smaller chair, sat Rhea. She was beautiful, fully human, no claws, no fangs, dressed in rich fabrics, a crown on her head. "This is what you could have," Arian's voice whispered. "Stay with me, serve me, and I'll give you everything you've ever wanted: beauty, power, belonging, love." Rhea stared at the vision of herself. It was perfect, everything she'd dreamed of, and it was a lie. "No," she said. The vision wavered. "No? This isn't real. It's not love. It's not belonging. It's just another cage." "But it's a beautiful cage," Arian said, appearing beside her. "Isn't that enough?" "No." "Why not?" Rhea turned to face him. "Because I'd rather be a monster who's free than a queen who's owned." Arian's expression darkened. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe, but it's mine to make." The throne room shattered. They stood in the silver forest again, back where they started. Arian's face was cold, furious. "You won." "I did." "The contract is binding. I must release my hold." "Then do it." He raised his hand and the forest began to dissolve. The glass palace crumbled. The magic unraveled. But as it did, Arian stepped closer. "You think you've won, but you've only delayed the inevitable. I am bound to this contract, yes, but contracts can be renegotiated. Loopholes can be found. And I am very, very patient." Rhea's blood ran cold. "You gave your word." "I did, and I'll honor it, for now." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper. "But one day, Rhea Thorne, you'll need something from me, and when you do, I'll be waiting." The world went white. Rhea gasped, stumbling. She was back in the palace staircase. The door behind her was crumbling, the runes fading. She'd won, but Arian's words echoed in her mind, and she knew this wasn't over. She made it 3 steps up the staircase before her legs gave out. The stone floor rushed up to meet her. Rhea caught herself on her hands, clawed, trembling, and stayed there, gasping. Every muscle in her body screamed, her vision swam, the world tilted sideways, footsteps thundered down the stairs, hands grabbed her shoulders. "Rhea!" Marin's voice cut through the fog. "Can you hear me?" Rhea managed a nod. Barely. "Is it done?" That was Lysandra. "Did you?" "The door," Rhea croaked. "Look at it." They turned. Behind her, the ancient door was dissolving. The runes flickered once, twice, then went dark. The wood cracked, splintering. Within seconds, all that remained was a pile of dust and the faint smell of ozone. "It's gone," Kira whispered. "It's really gone." Rhea let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. He honored the contract. "Can you stand?" Marin asked. "Give me a minute." "You don't have a minute." Half the palace heard that noise. Guards are coming. As if summoned, boots echoed above them. Torvin appeared at the top of the stairs, sword drawn. His eyes went from the pile of dust to Rhea, then back again. "What happened?" "She won," Lysandra said simply. Torvin's expression cycled through disbelief, suspicion, and finally grudging respect. He sheathed his sword. "The king will want a report, now." "She can barely stand," Marin protested. "Then carry her." Marin muttered something unflattering under her breath, but helped Rhea to her feet. The world spun, but Rhea gritted her teeth and forced herself to stay upright. She'd survived 3 trials against a creature older than kingdoms. She could survive a walk to the throne room. The king was waiting. He sat forward on his throne, tension radiating from every line of his body. When Rhea stumbled in, Marin supporting most of her weight, something in his posture eased. "You're alive," he said. "Disappointed?" Rhea managed. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Surprised." "What happened?" Rhea told him. The binding contract. The 3 trials, mirrors, memories, and illusions of desire. Arian's acceptance of defeat. The door's destruction. When she finished, the throne room was silent. "You challenged a lord of the old world to a contest of wits," the king said slowly, "and won. Apparently. That's either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever heard. I've been told it can be both." This time he did smile. Small, fleeting, but genuine. The princesses are free? They are. The connection's broken. They won't be pulled back. Relief washed over his face, raw and unguarded. For a moment he didn't look like the Alpha King, just a man who'd been terrified of losing his family. You kept your word, he said quietly. I did. Then you're free to go, as promised. He stood, gesturing to Torvin. Provide her with supplies, a horse, coin for the road, whatever she needs. Rhea blinked. She'd expected this, had bargained for exactly this, but hearing the words still felt unreal. Freedom. After 3 years of running, hiding, surviving day to day. Thank you, she said. The king nodded, started to turn away. And Rhea heard herself say, Wait. He paused. I need to ask you something, Rhea said, about the binding spell, the one that kept your kingdom stable for generations. The king's expression went carefully neutral. What about it? Arian mentioned it during the trials. He said your family's prosperity wasn't earned, it was borrowed, tied to something old, something in the palace itself. Torvin stepped forward, hand on his sword hilt. Watch your tongue. I'm not accusing anyone, Rhea said quickly. I'm trying to understand. Because if there's another old magic tied to this place, it needs to be addressed, before it becomes another problem. The king was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed, suddenly looking much older than his years. Torvin, leave us. My king, now. Torvin's jaw tightened, but he obeyed. The heavy doors closed behind him. The king descended from his throne, crossing to one of the tall windows. Dawn light streamed in, painting him in shades of gold and shadow. My great-grandfather made a deal with something that lived in the mountains north of here. Protection and prosperity for the kingdom in exchange for tribute. What kind of tribute? Blood. Not much, a few drops every year during the winter solstice, drawn from the ruling family and poured on the roots of the golden tree in the royal garden. Rhea's stomach dropped. A golden tree? An old one. Predates the palace. Maybe predates the kingdom itself. My ancestors built around it, thought it was sacred. He turned to face her. The tribute kept the land fertile, the borders secure, enemies at bay. For 3 generations, it worked perfectly. What happened? My father stopped the ritual 10 years ago. Said it was barbaric, superstitious, that we didn't need old magic to maintain what we'd built. And then he was cursed, Rhea said quietly. The king nodded. Within a year, the witch said it was payment for broken faith, that the thing in the mountains didn't appreciate being abandoned. Did you restart the ritual? No, I refused to be held hostage by something that demanded blood, even symbolic amounts. His expression hardened. But I've wondered. The problems with my sisters, the slow decay of the eastern farmlands, the increase in border raids. Maybe my father was right to maintain it. Maybe I'm watching everything fall apart because of my pride. Rhea's mind raced. The golden tree? Can I see it? Why? Because Arian said something else about connections, about how old magic ties things together in ways people don't always see. She paused. What if the tree wasn't just tied to your kingdom's prosperity? What if it was tied to the doorway, to Arian's realm? The king's eyes sharpened. You think they're connected? I think it's worth checking. He studied her for a moment, then nodded. Come with me. The royal garden was at the heart of the palace, protected by high walls and accessible only through the king's private chambers. It was beautiful in a wild, untamed way. Roses grew in tangled profusion. Ivy climbed ancient stone walls. Birds sang from hidden perches. And at the center, surrounded by a ring of white stones, stood the golden tree. It was massive, easily 40 feet tall, its trunk wider than Rhea could wrap her arms around. The bark had a metallic sheen, almost like actual gold, and the leaves, even in early spring, shimmered with an inner light. But something was wrong. Rhea circled the tree slowly, studying it. The roots were exposed in places, gnarled and twisted. And there, at the base, barely visible beneath moss and fallen leaves, were markings. Runes. The same runes that had been on the door. It's a binding anchor, Rhea breathed. The tree isn't just connected to your kingdom's magic, it's connected to Arian's realm. That's how the doorway existed. That's how he could reach the princesses. The king knelt beside her, brushing away moss to reveal more runes. My ancestors didn't make a deal with something in the mountains. They made a deal with him. And when your father stopped the tribute, it weakened the binding, created instability. Arian exploited it, used the connection to reach your sisters. So destroying the door wasn't enough, the king said grimly. The anchor still exists. He could rebuild the connection if he wanted. Rhea sat back on her heels. Arian's parting words echoed in her mind. One day you'll need something from me, and when you do, I'll be waiting. He knew. He'd known all along that the tree remained, that the connection could be reforged. We need to sever it, Rhea said, permanently. How? I don't know, but the hedge witch might. The king stood. Then we ride for the Thornwood, now. Wait, Rhea grabbed his arm. If we do this, if we break the binding completely, what happens to your kingdom? The prosperity, the protection, all of it could vanish. He met her eyes. Then we'll build something real, something that doesn't require blood or bargains with creatures that feed on desperation. His jaw set. I won't be held hostage, not by old magic, not by anything. Rhea saw the determination in his face and made a decision. I'm coming with you. You don't have to. You're free. This isn't your problem anymore. Yes, it is. Arian made it my problem when he threatened to come back, and I don't leave things half-finished. Something passed between them. Understanding, respect, maybe even trust. Then let's end this, the king said. They rode out within the hour, the king, Rhea, Marin, and Torvin. 4 riders against whatever came next. The Thornwood felt different in daylight, less menacing, but Rhea knew better than to trust appearances. This place had teeth, whether the sun was shining or not. The hedge witch was waiting when they arrived. She stood in her doorway, arms crossed, looking distinctly unsurprised. The king himself, she said dryly. How honored I am. Save it, the king said, dismounting. We need your expertise. You need a lot of things. Expertise is just one of them. Her gaze shifted to Rhea. You survived. Impressive. Barely. Barely is better than not at all. The witch gestured them inside. Come, tell me what's troubling you now. They crowded into the small cottage. The king explained about the tree, the runes, the binding that still existed despite the door's destruction. The witch listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You want to sever the binding? She said finally. Can it be done? Yes, but it will cost you. Everything costs something, the king said. Name your price. The witch smiled. Not coin, not favors. Blood. Your blood. The same blood that's fed the binding for generations. You'll need to use it to unmake what your ancestors made. How much? Enough to matter. Enough to hurt. This isn't a symbolic gesture. This is rewriting the fundamental magic of your kingdom. It requires sacrifice. The king didn't hesitate. I'll do it. And there's a complication, the witch added. The binding isn't just tied to the tree, it's tied to you. Your family line. Breaking it will break that connection. You'll lose the protections, the heightened senses, the strength that comes with your bloodline. Rhea saw the king's hand flex, an unconscious gesture. Those abilities had kept him alive, made him a warrior, a leader. Will I lose everything? He asked quietly. You'll still be stronger than most men, faster, but not what you are now. You'll be mortal in ways you haven't been since childhood. The king looked at Rhea, at Marin, at Torvin. What do you think? Torvin's expression was conflicted. My king, those abilities have saved your life more times than I can count. And they've come at a cost we didn't understand, the king countered. What do you really think? Torvin was quiet. Then, I think you'll still be the best warrior I've ever served, with or without magic. The king nodded, turned to Marin. And you? Marin shrugged. I've seen you train. Your skill isn't just magic, it's dedication. You'll adapt. Finally, he looked at Rhea. You've already given up everything once. What would you do? Rhea thought about her claws, her curse, the thing that marked her as different, Dangerous, other. She'd offered it to Arian, would have given it up in a heartbeat if the circumstances had been different. I'd choose freedom, she said. Real freedom. Not the kind that comes with strings attached. The king smiled, sharp and decided. Then that's what we'll do. The witch began gathering supplies. Jars and herbs and a wicked-looking knife. This won't be pleasant. The magic will fight back. It doesn't want to be unmade. I didn't ask for it to be pleasant, the king said. I asked for it to work. They prepared to leave, but the witch caught Rhea's arm. A word. Alone. Rhea followed her outside. The others stayed inside, giving them space. You're going to stay, the witch said. It wasn't a question. I haven't decided. Yes, you have. You just haven't admitted it to yourself yet. The witch's sharp eyes studied her. You've spent 3 years running, hiding, being afraid, and now you've found something worth staying for. I barely know him. I'm not talking about romance, girl. I'm talking about purpose, about being part of something that matters. You risked your life for his sisters. Now you're helping him break free of old magic. Those aren't the actions of someone planning to leave. Rhea wanted to argue, but the words stuck in her throat. Your curse, the witch said. Do you still want it broken? More than anything. Then I'll tell you how. But you won't like it. Rhea's heart raced. How? Your stepsister cursed you out of jealousy. The curse is tied to her emotions, her hatred. To break it, she has to genuinely forgive you. Rhea laughed, bitter and hollow. That's impossible. She hates me. I didn't say it would be easy. I said you wouldn't like it. Is there another way? There's always another way. But they're all worse. Rhea clenched her clawed hands. What if I don't want to wait for her forgiveness? What if I want to break it myself? The witch's expression turned serious. Then you'd need to forgive yourself first, for being better than her, for threatening her without meaning to, for existing in a way that made her feel small. That's not fair. I didn't do anything wrong. Fairness has nothing to do with it. Curses don't care about justice. They care about emotion, and your curse is tied to guilt you don't even know you're carrying. The words hit like a punch. Rhea wanted to deny them, but something in her chest twisted painfully. Had she felt guilty? For being smarter? For being noticed by their father when Ilara wasn't? Maybe. Think about it, the witch said, and when you're ready to do the work, the real work, come find me. They returned to the palace at dusk. The golden tree waited, gleaming in the dying light. The witch had prepared everything. A bowl for the blood, herbs to burn, words to speak. The king knelt beside the tree, knife in hand. He looked calm, resolved. Once I start, there's no stopping, the witch warned. The magic will resist. It might try to kill you to preserve itself. Noted. He pressed the blade to his palm, drawing it across in one smooth motion. Blood welled up, dark and red. He held his hand over the bowl, letting it drip. The witch began chanting, low, rhythmic. The air around them thickened. The tree shuddered. Its golden leaves began to fall, drifting down like snow. The bark dulled, losing its metallic sheen. The runes at its base flared bright, then started to crack. The king gasped. His free hand clutched at his chest. It's fighting, the witch said. Don't stop. Let the blood flow. More blood dripped into the bowl. The tree groaned, a sound like tearing metal. And then the runes shattered. The binding broke. The tree's glow vanished completely. It looked like an ordinary tree now. Old, gnarled, but just a tree. The king collapsed, breathing hard. Marin rushed forward, but he waved her off. I'm fine. Just give me a moment. Rhea felt it. The shift in the air. The absence of something she hadn't realized was there. The old magic was gone. The witch poured the blood around the tree's roots, speaking words Rhea didn't understand. When she finished, she stepped back. It's done. The binding is severed. Arian's anchor is destroyed. The king pushed himself to his feet. He looked the same, but Rhea saw something different in his eyes. Lighter, freer. How do you feel? Torvin asked. The king tested his hands, flexing his fingers. Weaker, but whole. He turned to the tree, placing a hand on its rough bark. My family used you for generations. Took from you without understanding the cost. I'm sorry for that. The tree didn't respond. It was just a tree now. But Rhea could have sworn she felt something. Gratitude. Relief. They walked back to the palace together. The king's steps were slower than usual, but steady. In the great hall, the princesses were waiting. When they saw their brother alive and whole, they rushed forward. "It's finished," he told them. "The binding is broken. You're truly free now." Lysandra hugged him tight. "So are you." That night the king called a feast. Not a formal affair, just family, close guards, and the strange, cursed woman who'd saved them all. Rhea sat at the long table, surrounded by warmth and laughter, and felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years, like she belonged. Marin leaned over, grinning. "So, are you staying?" Rhea looked around, at the princesses joking with each other, at Torvin arguing good-naturedly with one of the other guards, at the king looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. "I don't know," she said honestly. "Well, figure it out. Because I'm not training another partner. You'll do." Rhea smiled. "I'll think about it." The king caught her eye from across the table, raised his glass in a silent toast. She raised hers back. And for the first time in years, Rhea Thorne allowed herself to hope. Hope was dangerous. Rhea had learned that lesson 3 years ago when Alara smiled and handed her poisoned tea. She'd survived by expecting nothing, trusting no one, keeping her heart locked behind walls of steel and thorns. But sitting at that table, surrounded by people who looked at her like she was something other than a monster, those walls started to crack. She told herself it was temporary, that she'd leave in the morning, take the supplies the king offered, and disappear into the borderlands where she belonged. She told herself a lot of things that night. None of them turned out to be true. 3 days later, Rhea was still in the palace. She'd moved from the guest room to smaller quarters in the guard wing, Marin's doing, and found herself falling into a routine, training in the mornings with Marin and whoever else was willing to spar with a woman who had claws instead of fingers. Afternoons in the library, reading everything she could find about curses and old magic. Evenings in the great hall, listening to the princesses argue about everything from politics to poetry. It felt normal, dangerously normal. On the 4th morning, a messenger arrived from Greystone Village, the same village that had accused her of slaughtering livestock, the same village that had dragged her to the king in chains. The messenger was a boy, maybe 14, with nervous eyes and dirt under his fingernails. He stood in the throne room, cap in hand, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Speak," the king said. The boy swallowed hard. "My lord, the village council sent me. There's been more killings, 3 goats, a cow, same as before, torn apart." Torvin stepped forward. "When?" "2 nights ago, and last night again." Rhea's stomach sank. She'd been in the palace both nights, nowhere near Greystone. "We thought—" The boy hesitated. "We thought maybe it was her, the cursed woman. But the shepherd says she's here, so we don't know what's doing it." The king's expression was unreadable. "Did you track it?" "We tried. Lost the trail at the river, same as before. The same place Rhea had lost it weeks ago." She stood, unable to stay silent. "I'll go. I'll find whatever's doing this." The boy's eyes went wide. "You?" "Yes, me. The cursed woman you blamed for something she didn't do." The king raised a hand before the boy could respond. "Marin will go with you, and 2 trackers. Find this creature and end it." Rhea nodded, started to leave. "And Rhea," the king added, "don't prove them right. Prove them wrong." She understood what he meant. Don't just kill the creature. Show them you're better than what they think you are. Greystone Village sat at the edge of the Thornwood, a collection of rough wooden buildings and suspicious eyes. The villagers watched Rhea ride in like she was a storm cloud on the horizon. Women pulled their children inside. Men reached for weapons they kept close. The shepherd who'd accused her stood in the center of the village square. He was older than Rhea had expected, weathered and bent, with eyes that had seen too many hard winters. "You came back," he said. Not quite an accusation, not quite gratitude. "I came to finish what I started," Rhea said, dismounting. "Show me where it happened." He led them to the pasture. The damage was worse than Rhea remembered. Blood soaked the ground. Pieces of the animals were scattered across a wide area. Whatever had done this wasn't just killing for food. It was killing for pleasure. Marin knelt beside one of the carcasses, studying the wounds. These aren't claw marks, they're bite marks. Big ones, one of the trackers added. He was a grizzled man named Orin who'd spent 30 years hunting in these woods. Bigger than a wolf, maybe a bear. Bears don't hunt like this, Rhea said, circling the scene. She studied the ground, looking for prints, found them near the tree line. Massive, four-toed, claws longer than her thumb. "What is it?" the shepherd asked, his voice shaking. "I don't know," Rhea admitted. "But it's not natural." They tracked it into the thornwood. The trail was easy to follow at first. Broken branches, disturbed earth, more blood. But as they went deeper, the trail became erratic, circling back on itself, splitting in multiple directions. "It's trying to confuse us," Orin muttered. "It's working," Marin said. Rhea stopped, closing her eyes, listening. The forest was too quiet. No birds. No small animals rustling in the undergrowth. Everything had fled. Something was watching them. "Get ready," she said quietly. The creature hit them from the left. It was massive, easily 8 feet tall on all fours, with matted black fur and eyes that burned like coals. Its mouth was full of teeth, each one as long as a dagger. It moved fast, impossibly fast, crashing through the trees like a battering ram. Marin loosed an arrow. It sank into the creature's shoulder. The creature didn't even slow down. Orin and the other tracker scattered, drawing weapons. The creature ignored them, focused entirely on Rhea. She dove aside as it lunged. Claws raked the air where she'd been standing. She rolled, came up running, leading it away from the others. "Rhea!" Marin shouted. "Get to higher ground!" Rhea yelled back. "I'll keep it busy!" The creature pursued her through the trees. Rhea's heart hammered against her ribs. She was fast, but it was faster. She could feel its breath on her back, hot and rank. She spotted a narrow gap between 2 massive trees, twisted sideways and dove through. The creature tried to follow, got stuck. Rhea spun, claws extended. The creature thrashed, trying to free itself. For a moment she saw it clearly, saw the wrongness of it. This wasn't just a big predator. This was something twisted, corrupted. There was a collar around its neck, old leather, etched with runes. Rhea's blood ran cold. This was someone's creature. Someone had sent it. The creature wrenched itself free, taking chunks of bark with it. It charged again. An arrow hit it in the eye. The creature roared, shaking its massive head. Marin stood on a low branch above, knocking another arrow. "Now would be a good time for a plan," she shouted. Rhea's mind raced. The collar, the runes. If she could get close enough. The creature lunged at Marin. Rhea didn't think. She threw herself at it, claws extended, aiming for the collar. She caught it, dug her claws into the leather, pulled. The runes flared bright. Pain shot through Rhea's hands, burning like fire. She gritted her teeth and pulled harder. The collar snapped. The creature screamed, a sound of pure agony, and collapsed. Its body convulsed once, twice, then went still. As Rhea watched, it began to shrink. The fur receded. The claws retracted. Within moments, all that remained was a man, middle-aged, thin, wearing the tattered remains of clothes that looked vaguely familiar. Rhea knelt beside him. He was still breathing, barely. "Who did this to you?" she asked. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Didn't mean to. Couldn't stop. Who put the collar on you?" "Alara," he whispered. She said it would make me strong, protect the village, but I couldn't control it." Rhea's hands clenched into fists. Of course it was Alara. The man's breathing slowed, stopped. Marin dropped from the tree, landing beside Rhea. "Is he dead?" Rhea confirmed. She stood, her whole body shaking, not from fear, from rage. "Your stepsister did this," Marin said quietly. It wasn't a question. "She cursed him, just like she cursed me, turned him into a weapon she couldn't control." Orin and the other tracker appeared through the trees. They stopped when they saw the dead man. "That's Garrett," Orin said, his face pale. "He's been missing for 2 weeks. We thought he'd run off." "He didn't run," Rhea said. "He was turned into a monster and set loose. And when he killed livestock instead of whatever Alara wanted him to kill, she just left him like that. The trackers exchanged uneasy glances. We need to bring him back to the village, Oren said finally. Give him a proper burial. They fashioned a stretcher from branches and rope, carried Garrett's body back through the thornwood. The villagers were waiting. When they saw what Rhea and the others carried, confusion rippled through the crowd. What happened? The shepherd demanded. This, Rhea said, holding up the broken collar, is what killed your livestock. Garrett was cursed, transformed into something he couldn't control, and the person responsible is Alara Thorne. Murmurs spread through the crowd, shocked, disbelieving. That's impossible, a woman said. Alara's a merchant's daughter. She wouldn't. She cursed me 3 years ago, Rhea interrupted. Turned me into this. She held up her clawed hands. She's been using magic she doesn't understand to hurt people who get in her way, and Garrett paid the price. The shepherd looked at the body, at the collar, at Rhea. Can you prove it? Rhea's jaw tightened. The runes on the collar match the ones from my curse. The hedge witch who lives in the thornwood can confirm it. She's seen both. Then we need to bring Alara to justice, Oren said. She's in the capital, the shepherd said, about to marry Lord Voss. You think anyone's going to believe accusations from a cursed woman in a backwater village? He wasn't wrong. Alara had built herself a perfect life. Rich fiancé, connections, respectability. Who would believe she was capable of dark magic? Marin stepped forward. The king would believe it. He knows what Rhea's capable of. He'll listen. The shepherd's expression was skeptical. And what's he going to do? Arrest a merchant's daughter on the word of someone who looks like a monster? I don't look like a monster, Rhea said, her voice dangerously quiet. I am what your fear made me, what her jealousy made me, and I'm done apologizing for surviving it. The silence that followed was heavy. Then the shepherd did something unexpected. He knelt. You're right. I'm sorry. We blamed you for something you didn't do. Let us help you now. One by one, other villagers knelt. Not all of them, but enough. Rhea felt something crack open in her chest. Not quite forgiveness, but close. Help me bring her to justice, she said. That's all I ask. They rode for the capital at dawn. Rhea, Marin, Oren, and a half-dozen villagers willing to testify. The king had sent word ahead, demanding Alara be brought before him for questioning. The capital was everything Greystone wasn't. Tall buildings, paved streets, people dressed in fine clothes who looked at Rhea like she was dirt they'd stepped in. Lord Voss's estate sat on the edge of the merchant district, elegant, expensive, surrounded by manicured gardens. Alara was waiting on the front steps when they arrived. She looked exactly as Rhea remembered, beautiful, poised, her golden hair perfectly arranged, her dress made of fabric that cost more than most people earned in a year. When she saw Rhea, her smile was cold. Sister, what a surprise. We need to talk, Rhea said, dismounting. Do we? I'm quite busy. The wedding is in 3 days. Garrett is dead. Alara's smile didn't falter. Who? The man you cursed, the one you turned into a beast and set loose in Greystone. I have no idea what you're talking about. Rhea held up the collar. Explain this. Alara's eyes flickered to it, just for a moment. Then she laughed. That could be anything. You can't prove I had anything to do with it. The runes match the ones from my curse. So? Lots of curses use similar runes. That doesn't mean I cast it. Marin stepped forward. The king wants to question you. Let him question all he wants. I'll tell him the same thing I'm telling you. I haven't done anything wrong. Alara's gaze shifted to Rhea. You're just jealous. Still, after all these years, you can't stand that I'm happy, and you're... She gestured at Rhea's clawed hands. This. The word stung, more than Rhea wanted to admit. I'm not jealous, Rhea said quietly. I'm angry. You took 3 years of my life. You turned Garrett into a monster. You've been playing with magic you don't understand, hurting people, and pretending you're innocent. Prove it, Alara said, her smile sharp. Oh, wait. You can't. Because you're just a cursed half-beast making accusations against a respectable woman. Who do you think people will believe? Rhea felt the old helplessness rising. The same helplessness she'd felt 3 years ago when no one believed her. When everyone looked at her like she deserved what happened. But this time was different. This time, she wasn't alone. They'll believe the truth, the hedge witch said. Everyone turned. The witch stood at the edge of the garden, leaning on a gnarled walking stick. She looked even older in daylight, but her eyes were sharp as ever. You, Alara said, her composure cracking. What are you doing here?
Bearing witness. The witch stepped forward. I examined both curses, Ria's and the one on the collar. They're identical. Same hand, same intent, same fundamental structure. Only one person could have cast both. Alara's face went pale. That's a lie. Is it? The witch pulled a small vial from her pocket. This contains a sample of the magic residue from the collar. And this, she pulled out another vial, is from Ria's curse.
Would you like me to demonstrate how they react to each other? I don't have to listen to this. Alara turned to go back inside. Yes, you do, the king said. He stood in the doorway, flanked by guards. He must have arrived while they were talking. His expression was cold. You're under arrest, he said, for unlawful use of dark magic, for reckless endangerment, for murder. This is ridiculous, Alara's voice rose, losing its polished edge. You can't arrest me based on the word of a witch and a monster. I can, the king said, and I will. Guards! 2 guards moved forward. Alara backed away, her composure shattering completely. You don't understand. I did it for the right reasons. Ria was always better than me, always smarter, always noticed. I just wanted to hurt her, Ria finished, because you couldn't stand that I existed. Alara's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked like the girl Ria remembered, scared, desperate, lost. I didn't mean for it to go this far, Alara whispered. The man, Garrett, I thought I could control it. I thought if I could prove I was powerful, important, then people would see me the way they saw you. But they did see you, Ria said. They saw you as beautiful, charming, everything I wasn't, and it still wasn't enough. Alara's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. The words Ria had waited 3 years to hear, and they changed nothing. Sorry doesn't fix what you broke, Ria said. Sorry doesn't bring Garrett back. Sorry doesn't give me back the years I spent hiding and running and hating what I saw in the mirror. I know, Alara whispered. The guards took her away. She didn't resist, just went quietly, tears streaming down her face. Lord Voss stood in the doorway, looking shell-shocked. I had no idea. I swear. I didn't know. We believe you, the king said. But the engagement is off. Voss nodded numbly. Ria watched them lead Alara away and felt nothing. No satisfaction. No relief. Just emptiness. Marin touched her shoulder. You okay? I don't know, Ria said honestly. The witch appeared beside her. Walk with me. They walked through the gardens, away from the others. The witch was quiet for a long time. Your curse can be broken now, she said finally. Ria stopped. What? She confessed, admitted she did it out of jealousy and inadequacy. That's the emotional truth the curse was built on. Now that it's spoken aloud, witnessed, the curse is vulnerable. Hope flared in Ria's chest, painful, bright. How? Forgiveness. Either she forgives you, genuinely, not just words, or you forgive yourself. She'll never forgive me. Not really. Then you know what you have to do. Ria looked down at her clawed hands. I don't know how to forgive myself for something I didn't do wrong. That's not what you need to forgive, the witch said gently. You need to forgive yourself for being you, for being smart and noticed and everything that made her feel small. You've been carrying guilt for that, for existing in a way that threatened her. Ria felt tears sting her eyes. That's not fair. No, it's not. But curses aren't about fairness. They're about emotion, and you won't be free until you let that guilt go. Ria sank onto a garden bench. The witch sat beside her. I don't know if I can, Ria whispered. Then stay cursed, the witch said bluntly. Keep your claws. Keep the fear in people's eyes when they look at you. Keep running. Or decide that you deserve better. The words hung in the air. Ria thought about the past 3 years, the hiding, the hunger, the loneliness. She thought about the palace, the people who'd started to see her as more than a monster. Marin's friendship, the king's respect, the princess's gratitude.
She thought about hope. I deserve better, she said quietly. Then claim it. Rhea closed her eyes, took a breath, and let go. She forgave herself for being smart, for being noticed, for existing in a way that made Alara feel inadequate. She forgave herself for surviving when Alara wanted her broken. She forgave herself for being more than what anyone expected. Heat spread through her hands, not painful, just warm, like sunlight after a long winter. When she opened her eyes, her claws were gone. Her hands were human again, scarred, rough, but human. Rhea stared at them, hardly daring to breathe, touched her face, felt normal teeth instead of fangs. It worked, she whispered. The witch smiled. Of course it did. You did the work. Rhea stood, her legs shaking. She looked at her reflection in a nearby fountain. The face looking back was hers. Just hers. No curse. No monster. She started to cry. The witch patted her shoulder awkwardly. There, don't get sentimental on me. Rhea laughed through her tears. Thank you. Don't thank me. You did this yourself. The witch stood, brushing off her skirts. Now go. Show them what you really look like. Rhea walked back to the others. They were standing by the horses, talking in low voices. When Marin saw her, she did a double take. Rhea? The king turned. His eyes widened. The curse is broken, Rhea said simply. Marin whooped and pulled her into a hug. The villagers stared, shocked. Even the king looked surprised. How? He asked. I forgave myself. Rhea looked at her hands again, still hardly believing. And it was enough. The king smiled, genuine and warm. You never stop surprising me. Good. I'd hate to be predictable. They returned to the palace 3 days later. Alara was tried and sentenced to 5 years of service under the hedge witch's supervision, learning to undo the damage she'd caused. It was a mercy she didn't deserve, but the king believed in rehabilitation over revenge. Rhea attended the sentencing, watched Alara accept her fate with something like grace. As Alara was led away, she looked back, met Rhea's eyes. I am sorry, she said. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I am. Rhea nodded. I know. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was acknowledgement, and that was enough. The king offered Rhea a position in the palace, captain of the guard, working directly under Torvin. I'm not a warrior, Rhea protested. No, the king agreed. You're better. You're a survivor, a strategist, someone who sees problems others miss. That's exactly what I need. Rhea looked around the war room, at Marin grinning, at Torvin nodding grudging approval, at the princesses watching with hopeful expressions, at the place that had become home. All right, she said. I'll stay. Marin clapped her on the back. Finally, took you long enough. I'm a slow learner. You're a stubborn learner. There's a difference. The king raised his glass. To Rhea Thorne, the woman who saved my sisters, freed my kingdom from old magic, and refused to let anyone define her worth. Everyone drank. Rhea felt tears sting her eyes again. But this time they were good tears, happy tears. She'd spent 3 years being told she was a monster, being feared and hated and chased, and now she stood in a palace, surrounded by people who saw her for who she really was. Not cursed, not broken, just Rhea. That night she stood on the balcony outside her new quarters, looking out over the kingdom. The borderlands stretched in the distance, wild and harsh. She'd survived out there, alone, afraid. But she wouldn't go back. This was home now. These people were her family. The king joined her on the balcony, 2 glasses of wine in hand. He offered her one. Thinking about running? He asked. Always, Rhea admitted. Old habits. But you won't. No, I won't. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out. You know, the king said, when you first arrived in chains, I thought you were just another desperate criminal trying to bargain for her life. That's because I was. No, you were desperate, but you were also brave and brilliant, and exactly what this kingdom needed. He turned to look at her. What I needed. Rhea's breath caught. There was something in his voice, something beyond respect. I'm not who you think I am, she said quietly. Yes, you are. You just spent 3 years believing you weren't. He reached out, taking her hand, her human hand, scarred but whole. Stay, he said. Not as an employee, not as someone I owe a debt to. Just stay. Rhea looked at their joined hands, at the man who'd given her a chance when no one else would, who'd believed her when belief was all she had. I'm staying, she said, for as long as you'll have me. He smiled. That might be a while. Good. They stood together, watching the night settle over the kingdom. And for the first time in 3 years, Rhea Thorne wasn't afraid. She'd been cast out, cursed, hunted, broken down and rebuilt. And she'd survived it all, not by becoming what they wanted her to be, but by refusing to be anything less than herself. The girl no one wanted had become the woman no one could ignore. And in a world that had tried to destroy her, she'd found something better than revenge. She'd found home.